Today we are setting up our second portion of our spring summit. Who's here for the first time? Just a quick raise of hands. Thank you all for coming. My name is Scott Robinson. I've been working here for 5 years. I've led the fintech activities in places like Bitcoin, blockchain, and of course, some of the cybersecurity stuff that we've been working on. But this afternoon represents batch 7 of our startup, so thank you all for being here. These folks have been working very hard with us for the past 90 days, and of course it takes a lot to drill down all that you do in a company into 3 minutes, so we'd ask that you keep your attention to them during the pitches. But with that, all of this was made possible by our founder and a gentleman that I'd like to introduce. Of course, you all know him about the vest, but Site has been one of the best opportunities and career platforms for me, so please help me in welcoming our CEO, Saeed Hamidi.
So before you go, Scott, you know, there is, I think I said it yesterday at another event we had here. What I love about my job is the relationship we built with the entrepreneurs and startup and some of the corporations. And it's sort of like, I call it, is like a journey, or it's like watching a movie that has different series or different episodes. But really one of the best journeys I have ever taken, it's been with Scott the last 5 years. He has decided to open a cryptocurrency fund, and we are the first investor in his fund. I hope we are the first. So it is, we're gonna keep working together, but he was a crypto guy when I met him. I little bit changed him to be fintech guy, but he's going back to crypto again. But anything you have to say, Scott?
Well, I just wanted to share my experience to the entrepreneurs in this room, because what I've experienced here fully exhibits the ecosystem Plug and Play offers. So literally 6 years ago, I was at a demo table with an education startup. And this was September 2012. And to the next table next to me was a guy named Fred Ersham. And his company was called Social Radius. So it was a very different company at the time. Of course, Fred would go on to be co-founder of Coinbase. And I would pivot and come here and work as a consultant, eventually in marketing, and of course, all the fintech activity we've had. But the point I'm making is that these opportunities are not available anywhere else in this world. There's no other place where all these folks who all have the exact same vision to create something that materially impacts and changes the way we work is right here. And so I'm just very proud, and honestly, it's very bittersweet to have this transition, but thank you, Site. And with that, I'd like to introduce the folks that have been working with me for years, so please help me in welcoming RJ Carver and Max Koenig.
Thank you, Scott. Very sad to see you go, but really, really excited to see what the future holds for that man. With that said, we just wanted to, thank all of our partners for being here. Obviously, we're going to have the startups speak for themselves. I can definitely say that this 7th cohort has been our strongest, and we're really, really excited to have these companies present to you. But just kind of a quick update on what the near future holds for Plug and Play FinTech.
But first, we have a quick video highlighting our engagement with BNP Paribas out in Paris.
For the past 3.5 years, we've been accelerating startups and matchmaking them to the largest financial institutions in the world. The history of the program dates back to a little Bitcoin meetup we ran here in 2013. In 2014, we heard some strategic investments into the blockchain space were going to occur, and we opted to open this up to general financial technology. Over the past 2 years after launching the program, we've worked with roughly 30 large financial institutions on a global basis. And in particular, our history with BNP Paribas has sprouted into a fantastic program based in Paris at Station F.
This relationship was originally established by Bank of the West, which is our bank here in the United States. And we found that it was a great idea. And we decided to enlarge this worldwide. And we established in Paris the BNP Paribas Plug and Play Accelerator.
As Plug and Play, we are super excited and proud to be partnered with BNP Paribas, especially as year one comes to a close. The main goal of this partnership was to create an innovation platform dedicated towards fintechs and insurtechs that could collaborate with the bank and its respective business lines. We look forward to growing these engagements across the globe.
Bank of the West is very proud to be working with Plug and Play. Plug and Play has an amazing track record in the Silicon Valley, where we come from. And I'm very excited that BNP Paribas has decided to extend this partnership globally.
The partnership with Plug and Play has done a couple things. One, it's given us the opportunity to be more in touch with what's happening in fintech and in other verticals. I think the other thing it's done is giving employees an opportunity to participate with startups, and really helps us stay on front and look for solutions to some of the challenges that we have.
In the last year, we've accelerated 18 startups and executed 21 pilots with BNP Paribas. We source companies from all over the world, including startups from Silicon Valley, Frankfurt, London, Tokyo, and Paris. With all the success that we had so far, we don't plan on stopping. This is only the beginning.
We're very excited about the relationship with BNP Paribas. We've been able to expedite the process for which startups actually convert a pilot into production. If you'd like to learn more, please shoot us a note, fintech@pnptc.com. And again, we're always looking for the best entrepreneurs in the world to engage with some of the most robust and forward-thinking institutions. So please give us a note.
Welcome, everybody. This is not working. Just a brief snapshot on one of the companies that we've accelerated. I know it's Saeed's, one of his favorite investments, a company called DreamQuark. They went through the first batch. They landed 3 pilots. We invested when they were raising around $3 million. They have now quadrupled since then, and they've landed 3 pilots in the areas of risk, wealth management, and their international retail banking. Apart from that, and we went backwards. I think we need the different deck over there. I'd like to have a quick snapshot of our FinTech program.
For the past
up our
3.5
7th
years,
batch
we've
here.
been accelerating startups.
In total, we've had about 230 companies go through. We've seen about 50% land pilots and POCs with our partners, and we've invested in about 51 companies these past 3.5 years. Scaled the program up to 35 partners in 8 locations. This is where we are at internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've expanded into a couple new initiatives this year with our office in Abu Dhabi just recently launching. I myself moved out to New York about 6 months ago, where we're basically offering the same full suite of services that we have in the Silicon Valley headquarters in New York. So for those of you that are working for New York-based financial institutions, please come and spend some time with us. We'd love to host you for a session, for some quick innovation day, just anything.
And we've launched these 7 new locations these past 1.5 years, so we are hiring. Please give me a call if you are interested. Just a big round of applause to all our partners here in attendance, real quick. Here's a quick snapshot of the ecosystem of all the companies and entrepreneurs that we have participated with, grouped by category. And moving on, these are some key events we have going on. We'd like all you guys back out here for Selection Day at the end of July. It's California, summer's hot, so we'll make sure to make the time worthwhile. Across the board, we're doing a lot of work with Money 2020 this year. We're holding a showcase event in early September. And then, of course, we'll be sponsoring Money 2020 and have our expo thereafter. So make your travel plans from Las Vegas and then stop by beautiful Sunnyvale along the way home. Globally, we just launched Abu Dhabi last week with partnership with ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Apart from that, at the end of this month, we'll be launching Frankfurt in partnership, title sponsor being Deutsche Bank. We'll be doing a showcase/roadshow event out in Atlanta, August 22nd and 23rd. And if you want to see this beautiful gentleman to the right of me, stop by New York, September 6th. Well, that's all I got. Thank you all for coming. Want to introduce your host, MC, and my colleague on the ventures team, Evan Pope, to introduce the companies I'll be pitching today. Change the plans, folks. We have a keynote for 30 minutes with Ryan Gilbert from BBVA. Thank you.
Don't need anything. I thought I could go home, but wasn't so lucky. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Gilbert. I'm one of the founding partners of Propelled Venture Partners based in San Francisco. We're a $250 million fintech-focused venture fund backed by BBVA Group. Thank you very much for having me here today and for accelerating the lunch. It's a real privilege for me to be here today. This plug-and-play operation, if you think about it, preceded WeWork, hit the scene before Y Combinator, and all the other tech stars of the world. So it's ground zero for so many of my friends and colleagues in the Valley, and it's just amazing to see that the 7th cohort of FinTech is growing and the international growth. To the founding team, congratulations, and for all your new efforts, best of luck. When I was in grade school, I was quite a talkative kid back in South Africa, and my teacher always reminded me of one thing. You have one mouth, 2 ears, and use them in that proportion. And that lesson, which was drummed into me in the early days, has carried through into work I've been doing as a lawyer, as a 5-time startup entrepreneur and company advisor, and for the past 2.5 years as a full-time VC at Propel. So what you're going to hear from me today, excuse me, and I'm still seeing a countdown there of 52 seconds, they tell me 30 minutes. What you're going to hear from me may not always be my ideas, but I've really tried hard to remember when I'm in a pitch, when I'm at a session, to be present and mindful across the board. And it's helped me understand and remind me how difficult it is being an entrepreneur in the financial services space, where the biggest ideas will always be met by a no and many reasons as to why these opportunities aren't going to succeed. Why failure is the default and success, well, sometimes you just have to be Jack Dorsey. A little bit about Propel. Propel's got started 2 years ago because my partners Jay Reineman and Tom Whitaker had spent 5 years at BBVA running the internal ventures group. And they found that many would think, well, a bank-run ventures group is dumb money. It's corporate VC. How could they break that mold? How could they show that a regulated financial institution, a global leader like BBVA, could be as proactive, as strong when it comes to advice and help, and competitive as non-corporate VCs? Well, it's a very simple path. Start a new fund. But in the United States and in many other regulatory environments, it's not that easy. The Dodd-Frank Act, the Volcker Rule in particular, makes it close to impossible for large regulated financial institutions to throw it all into a VC fund, unless you're happy to be a minority player in that space. And the path to success was the creation of an SBIC-regulated entity here in the United States, our Propel Venture Partners, USGP1, allowing, under the compliance regime of the SBIC, to create a non-leveraged fund that allowed BBVA to commit to our fund and to support the US investments that we are investing in at Propel, 17 since February of 2016. And with a very strong focus on being independent, being founder first, and investing for financial gain. The catch there is that we cannot invest out of our US fund internationally. So we've created another vehicle based in Spain, allowing us to invest internationally, and we call that the Propel Global Fund. We're managing it through the same general partnership, the same management company that Tom, Jay, and I run, together with our team of 10 in San Francisco. We spend a lot of time on airplanes. And we focus on investments that are relevant to financial services. Now, you don't have to be a lawyer in this room to say, wow, that's a very broad mandate. It is. But we always try and bring it back to the core. Are our investments going to be relevant to savings, credit, or, which we very much hope is in most businesses, payments? Or are these opportunities one hop or two hops away? And we use the one hop or two hop analogy to well describe those concentric circles of opportunity that relate to money. Money is the one thing in our lives across the world that comes with very little instructions. In fact, when man was created, there wasn't anything that could be called money. The yapstone was probably one of the first manifestations of value, and today we have equally opaque and crazy forms of currency, which frankly don't exist in many worlds. For example, Bitcoin and blockchain and other alternative currencies. And with our one hop and two hop analogy, we're able to invest both in the core, which we all recognize when we see it, but also where we think the puck is going. We love doing that because as fintech VCs, our colleagues often call us up after a deal gets announced and said, "You're fintech guys. Why did you invest in ABC company?" That makes me proud. It makes us know that we're looking 1 or 2 skips ahead and really focusing on where the puck is going. And we're going to carry on doing that at Propel as we bring on more funds over the coming year. So what is the state of fintech today, and particularly from a venture perspective? What is going on? I've had the opportunity the past 3 days to integrate and to meet with about 1,500 entrepreneurs. I was in Atlanta on Tuesday at FinTech South with about 1,200 entrepreneurs, in Huntington Beach yesterday at another conference, which is about 150, and here in Sunnyvale today. Most of the time I was on a panel or a moderator. Today I'm speaking, but I certainly try to spend a large part of my day meeting, speaking, and understanding what's going on the ground. We've also got Finovate happening just down the road. So there's a lot of fintech action happening. And this fintech action has also been made very clear if we look at the latest data that's coming out from companies like CB Insights, together with good work from KPMG and other advisors. $5.4 billion was invested globally in Q1 in 327 fintech deals. Now granted, $2.2 billion went to some ginormous deals, but the balance is helping the long tail of startups get out of the starting blocks. In the United States, we saw $2.1 billion invested in 147 transactions. Now, that's a big uptick from 2017. Because remember what happened last year? We were dealing with Brexit internationally, a new administration here in the United States. I mean, no one knew what was going on except for one thing: Bitcoin was going up. And which venture fund could invest in Bitcoin? Very, very few. So I think we're getting back to the normal, which we all like in our business, of everything's going up and to the right. However, I found by 2.5 years being a partner at Propel that investing sometimes is a bit of a game. I don't know if you remember Hot or Not, maybe 10 years ago, or to use a modern phrase, it's a bit like Tinder. It's an easy swipe to the left, an easy swipe to the right. Much to the surprise of many, InsurTech is hot today. It's back, particularly cyber insurance. We're seeing some significant investments, and particularly investments that are being backed by large corporates. On the other hand, there's a significant decline in investments in lending-related businesses. Lending's tough, and the regulatory environment doesn't make it easy, especially when you have to get other people's money to fund your businesses. We're seeing a lot of new money going into RegTech, and that makes a lot of sense because there's a race to compliance, particularly in Europe with GDPR and other data-centric business requirements, which quite frankly are affecting many corporations here in the United States too. Challenger banks are popping up everywhere. We've just invested in a new challenger bank in Brazil. It was a great experience, and I've got a story that I can share with you later on about that. And wealth management. Well, don't we have Personal Capital and Wealthfront and Betterment and all the 401k companies? Why do we need any more? Well, evidently the entrepreneurs and customers out there just aren't happy with the status quo, regardless of all the progress that we've seen. So a lot of action in that space. Let's not forget, though, that there are key technologies that we as investors and entrepreneurs are really excited about. And I'm not talking about AI and bots. That's taken for granted. Every single financial institution should be trying to understand how the bot can make the customer experience a lot more efficient. But what about computer vision? That's right, computer vision, putting lots of cameras in your banking mall or in your office or using the power of an iPhone. So when a consumer banking client walks into a banking mall, you already know who he or she is. There's no need for a thumbprint or a password or anything else. You recognize, hey, Ryan, welcome back. We haven't seen you for the past 2 years because who walks into a bank anymore? But if we take that model of computer vision and apply it into banking malls, wouldn't we find a very different mode for banking? Perhaps consolidation of real estate, better use of the space, a more intimate, personal banking environment. Those things can really drive a lot of change, and it doesn't have to be limited to the Amazon Go retail environment where you can walk in, walk out with your book. No, it can touch every aspect of our lives. And it's those exciting things that my partners and I at Propel are spending a lot of our time trying to understand and then promoting to the various financial institutions that we work with, helping entrepreneurs change the way their businesses work and change the world we live in. I'm often asked, Ryan, what are you guys doing? How do you assess a deal? And I'm happy to share that with you today. Many of you probably know Jeff Clavier, who used to run a fund called Softtech VC, now is known as Encore Capital. Jeff's a French guy, I'm South African, but he can carry off what I'm going to say far better than me. He talks about the 3 asses rule when looking at businesses. A smart-ass team, a big-ass opportunity, and a bad-ass product. And I think that is true for any type of business opportunity that anyone wants to invest in here in the United States or internationally. We all want to back the smartest entrepreneurs. And by smart, I don't only mean tech smart, I mean people smart. We have a rule at Propelled that we call the no jerk rule. It's a rule that we start looking at the minute somebody engages with us, from the time they walk into our office, when we go down to the Starbucks to have a cup of coffee. How do you deal with people? Not just the folks who you think have money to invest in your new program. It's so important because it shows an empathy and an understanding for your customers at the end of the day. It shows that the emotional quotient and your ability to be successful when you're out there engaging with customers and investors and potentially new partners. Similarly, we want to understand what drives our entrepreneurs. Why do they go to work every day? Is it to escape their kids, or is it to certainly change the world? Really, really important. And it's understanding the entrepreneur at a human level that we think unlocks the significance of what venture can be about. And for those of you that know me or perhaps see me on Twitter or in other social media, you see I often refer to venture capital being human capital. This is the most personal of businesses because it doesn't end with the money. It starts there. It's about recruitment and culture and team building and really building something great. And if you look at all the logos downstairs, if we walk into Plug and Play Center, you can see some truly great companies that I think have got the human capital side of their venture capital business done right. Good example is PayPal. Once we've moved on from the people, though, we really talk and think about the market. TAM, total addressable market. But what does that really mean? We can measure the numbers and take the guesses all day long. More importantly, we try and say, is this market large enough based on a need that truly exists, that a customer is going to move his or her hand from the pocket to the cash register and want to engage and want to spend? It's a huge leap of faith. And most of the time, I think that VCs are too scared to take that leap of faith. It's one of the reasons why I always tell entrepreneurs, when they're out there having the TAM conversation, they should bring as much data as possible to justify the TAM and not get turned off when a venture investor questions the TAM and gives TAM as a size for not investing in the deal, particularly for very early stage. Finally, it's a question of the tech. Now, we talk about fintech, but often I've asked the question, where's the tech in fintech? And most of the time, it's just not there. It's a huge waste of time for all of us, particularly technology-centric investors. Here's why. Today, it's really simple to start a new company, a tech company. You plug into the cloud, you plug into a couple of other services, you say you have a partnership with a Yodlee or a Plaid, or you're issuing a card through Marqeta, and many other examples, and boom, you're in business as a financial services company, but not as a fintech company. If we're going to be purists about the definition of fintech, please think about the question, where's the tech in your fintech? And it's unfortunately ringing true far too often where many of our entrepreneurs who come and visit me and my partners say, yes, we've got 4 engineers. Great, we'd love to meet them. Where are they? They're in the U countries, Uruguay, the Ukraine, but they're not in the United States of America. Do they work for you, or do they work for 17 other startups? It's a relevant question that we have to understand as investors, because it certainly shows us whether the founders and their entrepreneurs are embracing technology to the core so they can truly call themselves fintech companies. Now, there are those of you out there that I'm sure will disagree with me. So ask me, Ryan, why are you hammering on this point? And I'll give you a very personal story. As much as we like it, folks, fintech venture companies, and I say startups generally, are not overnight successes. They're definitely not. My last startup that I am now chairman of, having been CEO and founder, started its life in 2009 as a joint venture between me as an EIR at Venrock and PayPal. And the company was called BillFloat. And we had a very simple value proposition. We were going to give consumers more time to pay recurring bills. Subsequent to BillFloat being founded in August of 2009, there have probably been 17 other folks up to bat with that same opportunity. Consumer lending done right is very, very difficult. We never wanted to be a usurious play. We always wanted to operate below the usury limits in various states because we thought that was what fair lending is about. And also we were determined to get free customer acquisition by partnering with large brands like Metro PCS and T-Mobile and others. But the reality is that you can't build a huge business off small dollar loans at 5% interest rates. It was a great business. We felt good about it, but how did we scale up? And ultimately, we did other forms of consumer lending, ended up selling a consumer lending business. But in 2012, Metro PCS, now part of T-Mobile, soon to be partnered up with Sprint, called me up out of the blue and said, Ryan, we have 10,000 dealer locations in the United States. Our dealers are finding it impossible to get small business loans to open up more stores, to sell more phones, so you can do more financing. Figure out a lending business. Solve our dealers' financing problems. I said, wow, like, we're not good at doing that. We can issue $1,000 loans, but you're talking about folks that need $10,000 to $200,000 loans. What are we going to do? They said, figure it out. Well, we did. And today, what was Bill Float in 2009 is now SmartBiz Loans, one of the largest packages and originators of SBA 7A loans. Those are loans that are less than $350,000 under the SBA, partnering with 9 banks around the United States, creating 2,500 jobs a month. I think that's a damn big deal. But when I wake up in the morning, happy about what the team at SmartBiz Loans is doing, I remind myself that it's taken me 9 years to get there. Now, it took Jack Dorsey 9 years to get a $21 billion company at Square. And I'll be the first to say I'm no Jack Dorsey. But to quote a former vice president candidate many years back, I know Jack Dorsey is my friend. At the same time that I was running Bill Float and getting that business up in the ground, I did have the opportunity to be a first advisor at Square from day one when Jack and Jim were still trying to figure out how to sell glass faucets. It was a tremendous run and a tremendous experience. And if I were to compare why did Jack get where he is today compared to me and many other entrepreneurs, a lot of it just comes down to dumb luck, which also has made me realize that so much about venture is about luck. That there's a new equation that we've been talking about at Propel. It comes down to 85% luck and 15% very good luck. And I wish you all of that. It's easy to get if you can find it, and when you figure it out, let's discuss a business model. So recognizing that nothing really happens overnight that quickly, it's critical when looking at the business you're developing and going back to where's the tech in fintech, to build technologies from the very beginning that are meaningful and valuable and can be repurposed if required. The loan originations today happening at SmartBiz Loans are to a large extent based on the technologies we built in 2009 to originate $140 loans to Metro PCS customers so they did not have their mobile phone bills cut off. It was a big deal then and a big deal now, and it's something I try and impress on our partners across the board. Build for the future. And also take the view that the company you want to build in fintech isn't a company that you want to sell in 2 years or even 12 years. American Express is 173 years old right now. Many other large financial institutions, in fact, I'm sure many of yours folks in the room, have been around for more than a decade. For more than 5 decades. They matter. They've got customer recognition, customer affection, strong, loyal staff. Those are the types of companies that I really do believe entrepreneurs in financial services should focus on building. If you're looking for a quick hit and a quick exit, there are many other things to be done. But the hard work that goes into financial services, from building the first product to dealing with regulators and compliance, deserves something that's going to outlast you. And it doesn't mean you have to stick around and be the CEO of this albatross for 25 years from where you are now all the way through to retirement. Look at me. I found a very elegant way out. I put one of my best guys in as CEO of SmartBiz, and now I'm playing the VC game. And you know what? Everyone's happy, especially Evan Singer, who's earning more than me today. So I'm very grateful for him and to him. So taking that forward, what is this venture space all about if we think about the people, the market, and the tech? It's about complying with the rules of the day and not forgetting that as much as Jeff speaks about his 3 S's, we have to add a 4th. And it's called hard ass, and it refers to compliance and legal and regulation. It's been shocking for me over the past couple of years how few entrepreneurs are spending, which I believe would be valuable venture funding, on legal. They're spending a lot more time on the hoodies and the fleeces and other things. But my strong advice to anyone who wanting to get started in venture is as much as you worry about your technical co-founder and your marketing person, worry about your legal counsel, whether it's outside counsel or on the inside. Because the key to unlocking strong relationships with financial institution partners and being in good favor with regulators, whether it's state level or federal level, is understanding and respecting and complying with the laws of the land. I've spent too many years trying to sell products into regulated financial institutions. getting the sales folks and the business folks really excited about our value proposition, really penciling out the huge businesses we're going to build together. And then stage 3 or 4, you say, well, great, we're going to go, the board loves it, but before we do any of that, we've got to speak to our folks in compliance. The one thing I've learned is that compliance folks are the most critical people in regulated financial institutions because they keep people in their desks and not behind bars. It's as simple as that. I'm on the board of a reasonably sized bank up here in Northern California. Compliance is the rule. And that's what the regulators implement and remind us of every single year when we have our annual visitations. Unfortunately, from an innovation perspective, compliance groups put the no into innovation. They're very, very blinkered, and I understand it, I accept it, and I love them for that. So when going into that battle, let's do it with our eyes wide open and with the tools and the weapons and the responses in order to overcome that no and to turn that no to the yes. It's the most important sales tactic that I think anyone in this room should remember when trying to secure those types of deals. And when you do that, when you embrace it, good stuff can happen. There are 29 unicorns in fintech valued at $77 billion today, all partnering with regulated financial institutions. They haven't done it by not being in compliance with the laws. And now I'll make it a little personal. Last Thursday, a big venture deal got announced in Brazil, the largest Series A round ever, led by Propelled Venture Partners and my partner Jay Reineman, in a challenger bank called Banco Neon. Now, one of the 77 unicorns I referred to is a very, very large challenger bank in Brazil. So there's space for another one. So Thursday morning, it was high fives, a lot of press. The CEO was super happy. It took 5 months to close and fund this deal. 6:30 Brazil time, Friday morning. Pedro Conrade gets a call from the regulator, the Bank of Brazil. We're shutting down your partner bank. WTF. My partner Jay got a call at 3:30 a.m. And when I woke up to go to gym at 6, I started seeing this flurry of emails. How could that be? What did we miss in our diligence? Now, thankfully, there are 4 other very reputable firms, including firms on the ground in Brazil. So it wasn't just all on Jay's shoulders. Did we miss something? No. But what is clear is that you cannot know truly, as a partner, what's going on in a regulated financial institution. So much is happening under strict confidentiality, especially in countries where we, as Silicon Valley US-based investors, don't really even speak the language, and you're reliant on the team and the partners and many others out there. The good thing is that our new investment, Banco Neon, Neon Pagamentos, wasn't doing anything wrong. There was definitely an issue with the partner bank. And with hundreds of thousands of customers already enrolled on the Neon platform, the central bank in Brazil wanted to help this little startup that had just pulled in $22 million into the economy and was going to create many, many jobs in Sao Paulo, wanted this firm to be successful. With the help of the regulator who really understood what this business was about, 7 a.m. Monday morning, a new bank deal was signed with the 7th largest bank in Brazil, and they're up and running. The net promoter scores, other satisfaction index went from being down below the water way up there into the 80s in the matter of a period of a week. It just goes to show how if you have a clear regulatory strategy, an honest regulatory strategy, and one where you can pick up the phone with confidence, bad situations can be turned into good stories. So we heaved a huge sigh of relief over that one. We're back in business, everyone's happy, but it's just a reminder, don't mess with the regulator. The other thing that one asks me when folks come and pitch us a Propel or generally for advice is, what is relevant? How do you answer that so what question? And that's where I've found that venture capital or being a startup entrepreneur generally is a great storyteller experience. You've got to really make things personal. It should be your personal story that you're sharing in confidence with your audience. On Tuesday evening, I was flying back from Atlanta. And was also a reason why you should always talk to people sitting next to you on airplanes. And I sat down, and I was totally tired, just wanted to like immerse myself in my emails and my phone. And this young man comes and sits next to me in his torn Stanford 2014 T-shirt, shorts, and sneakers. I thought, wow, you've either been upgraded or you've really lucked out. And he sits down and opens up his Mac and starts going away. And when they came around with the drinks, both of us had a glass of wine. And I said to him, so what do you do? And he says, I'm a scientist. And I thought, oh, okay, you don't want to talk to me, like whatever. And a couple of minutes later, he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a venture capital investor focusing on fintech. And I said to him, what science do you do? He says, well, I'm working on cures for cancer. Wow. I do fintech VC, you're finding cures for cancer. Can't beat that. I said, well, that's wonderful. My father had a bout of cancer about 2 years ago, and I told him my story. And he showed empathy, and he really was engaging, and we were speaking a lot about cancer treatments and big world problems. And after about 30 minutes in, he said, you know, my dad had cancer too. And it showed that you've got to have that connection, that personal story to whatever you do, that you're going to take your Stanford academics and all the network you get from going to that great institution and applying it to solve that great problem. And we left it for a while, got back to our emails, and then dinner got served, and I started saying to him, you know, there's a problem with healthcare in the United States and probably everywhere in the world, and that's if you don't have the connections or the capital or aren't in the right place, you're not going to get the best treatments. And how do you democratize things? Because democratizing access to X, Y, and Z is something we speak a lot about in financial services. And this young guy had a lot of good thoughts about it, ranging from how you apply data to build out better solutions. And he also identified that amongst the largest problems are the drug manufacturers, who are, to a large extent, profit seekers, as many of us are in financial services. We like to charge $17.95 to send $100 from San Francisco to Tijuana, when in fact it charges 79 cents. So we're maybe as bad as the drug companies. And I left that discussion feeling, well, you know what, if folks like this guy are going to be focusing on these big world problems, why aren't we in fintech? What's going to drive us? What's going to be our personal story? What's going to be our itch to scratch? To ask the question, is what we're doing really big enough, really relevant enough? The what-if question and the so what question. Why do we satisfy ourselves with $30 million exits when we can build companies that can be around for 175 years, worth billions of dollars? And that's the one challenge I want to put out to the entrepreneurs out there. You can think big, but what if you think bigger? What if you really stretch yourself? And I know what many of you are going to say to me, well, it's going to take more venture capital, it's going to take more people, it's going to take higher risk. True. And the worst that can happen, you're going to fail. And you know what we do when we fail in the Silicon Valley? We get up and we do it again. And that's what I really encourage all of you to do. Don't take failure as a reason to not do things. Take it as a reason to do things. Something that you can be proud about and that you can tell your kids and leave a bit of a legacy. Because I think if we all do that and reorient the way we think about financial services, it's not going to be considered by the rest of the world as boring, as unadventurous, as something that's the big banks are going to dominate and do. Let's really get a little bit of guts and do the big things and get prepared to fail. Embrace failure, demand failure. I'll leave you with one thing. That young man, his last name was Jobs. Have a good day, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Before we jump into the startup pitches, I'd like to announce the winner of our Corporate Innovation Award for Batch 7. They're a little small bank out of Minneapolis, but nevertheless, they hit the ground running this class. Please welcome Melissa with Bremer Bank.
Thank you very much.
Say words?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, since we joined, we are absolutely honored to receive this. The innovation team from Tyson won yesterday, and they said something that really stood out, which is the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the cost of getting involved, even if it's small or just kind of jumping in and trying to make the most of it. Our time here at Plug and Play has been amazing. Not only does it give us access to incredible startups, the network, I would say also it's really this peer group of financial institutions who are really trying to innovate and stay ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, next up, I want to introduce our MC and host for the startups, the man that has actually curated all these startup pitches to present today. Please welcome Evan Pope from our ventures team.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. First up, we're going to get right started on the pitches today. So first, we have Listener. Can you come up? All right.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Ian Burnham. I'm a product manager at Listener, Series B funding with offices in Oakland, California, and Cincinnati, Ohio, and the leader in data over audio. There we go. In our everyday lives, we encounter friction due to the limitations of current technology, whether that's relying on paper and QR codes for ticketing, or tedious manual steps for authentication, or hardware limitations for mobile payments. Listener aims to eliminate those limitations by sending data over inaudible sound waves to and from any device with a speaker and microphone. What that means is you can send the same information that you currently send through QR, Bluetooth LE, and NFC using inaudible sound waves. As I previously mentioned, there's a lot of limitations with current technology, some of which include having to install and maintain specific hardware, the high costs of maintaining some of these solutions, as well as network clogging when you have a high volume of users running through some of these solutions. With Listener, you have none of those limitations. We're a software-only solution that runs on a wide variety of mobile and desktop platforms, and we're continuing to expand upon our supported platforms, and we can also transmit data in a fully offline environment. So how does this work? All of our tones are made up of 3 parts. The first is a preamble, which announces the presence of one of our tones and tells any device running our SDK to turn into demodulation mode. Next is our header, which contains metadata about the payload that you're sending. And then last is the payload, which is the actual data that you're sending over audio. We have a variety of tone profiles used for different use cases. Our newest one is Precision KAB. Is our EMV compliant tone profile, and is also our fastest one yet, with a throughput of 1,000 bits per second or 125 bytes per second. So an example use case of Listeners for authentication. So as a mobile user, I can press a button that emits an inaudible tone that you and I cannot hear, but the secure machine, in this case a laptop, can hear. It'll send the credential information to the laptop and authenticate the user. No need to type in credentials or use a third-party two-factor auth app. It can all be done with a press of a button. And Listener tones can also be used for payment scenarios. That can be mobile to mobile or mobile to point of sales terminal in order to transmit payment information. No need to fiddle with the phone and look up contacts or install specific hardware onto the terminal itself. It can all be done seamlessly through the power of data over audio. If you have any more questions, feel free to check out listener.com or email us at sales@listener.com. I'll also be outside on the tables. Thank you.
All right, I want to make a quick announcement really quick. We have some voting on the back of your badges. Just keep some notes on. We're going to have a vote at the end on who's going to be the People's Choice winner today. So next up we have James from Clearnomics.
All right, thanks, Evan. All right, thanks for the smattering of applause. How's everyone doing? Good. My name is James Liu. I'm the founder and CEO of Clearnomics, and we're a company that's going to be around for 175 years. We're building what we call a market insights platform for the financial services industry. So let me give you a little bit of background on us. Before I started the company, I was an executive director at JP Morgan. I did market and economic research for asset and wealth managers, thousands of these guys across the country and across the world. On the right-hand side, you can see that occasionally I sneak onto the set of CNBC before they have time to kick me off to talk about markets and to basically provide insight on what's happening in the world. And combined with my technology background, I realized that there is something missing in the wealth and asset management industries, which is, again, what we call a market insights platform. So let me explain what I mean by that. The premise is very simple. Most of the technology, the research, all the tools, the software packages out there in wealth management are for experts. They're for portfolio managers, they're for equity research analysts, they're for the experts. every one of your companies has hundreds, maybe thousands of client-facing individuals who should not be doing that level of research. All they want to know is, well, when my client comes in and has a question about something, how do I provide them with the one piece of insight to build that client relationship to make this a great conversation? And that's really what we want to do. You think about how they do it today. There are PDFs out there. They're inundated with emails with essentially, in our parlance, it would just be unstructured data. So how do we solve this problem? Well, the kicker here is that all of your firms are already spending millions, tens of millions of dollars on this content, this research. And so all we really need to do is put it in the right structure, the right platform, in order to make this accessible and to essentially open up a set of digital capabilities for these client-facing professionals. And it doesn't matter if they're private bankers, financial advisors, sales and trading, insurance reps, et cetera. So our solution is that we're a platform. We have market insights. You can pull these insights up using our human interface or via API. So because of that, you can integrate it with your client portals, integrate it with CRM, with compliance systems. And on top of that, we're a platform for enterprises. So we have our content, but you can also load your content on there and get full digital capabilities out of the box. So in the time I have left, I'll just briefly show you some screenshots of this. I'd be very happy to show you live demos out by our table. This is what we call our intelligent assistant. An advisor can basically say, instead of going through all my emails and reading all these PDF white papers, I know my client's going to ask me some questions about what's happening with Iran. How does that affect my portfolio? How does tax reform affect me? What's happening in the markets and the economy? You can go through this and in seconds get a polished client set of materials. It has all the talking points, everything you need, everything's incredibly polished, and you have it in seconds. And on top of that, what kind of a fintech company would we be if we didn't have a chatbot as well? So we have what we call our Insights Bot. If you're on the phone with a client, you can pull up exactly what you need immediately and have a great client conversation right there. So hopefully that's interesting. We're in the asset and wealth management space. Again, we're Clearonomics. Thank you very much.
All right, next up we have Guillaume from Extend.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Guillaume Bouvard. I'm the co-founder and COO of Extend Enterprise. Thank you very much for having me. Okay. Today, most companies actually use corporate card, business credit card, to make business purchases. However, that tool, the credit card, is actually not necessarily a very good fit for everyone. And as a result, about 40% of the expense that should go on corporate cards in companies do not happen to be on these corporate cards. Employees have a lot of other means to make transactions, and they use their personal card or they borrow someone else's cards. In addition, a lot of companies use a lot of freelancers, more and more actually. And so as a result, these companies have to deal with reimbursement, they have to deal with fraud, they have to deal with, how do you call that? Sorry, I'm so sorry. They have to deal with fraud, as I said, and they have to deal with can't find my words, I'll come back in a minute. Anyway, these companies have really tremendous troubles with these transactions that do not go on corporate card. And so Extend is trying to solve all that problems. I'm so sorry, it's not working. Okay, Extend is a corporate card sharing platform. What it does, it allows a company and a cardholder to share access to their corporate card without ever sharing the card number. And so the recipient of this corporate card receives a virtual card that has a unique card number, that has a spend limit that is defined by the cardholder, as well as a validity date that is defined by the cardholder. And so the cardholder definitely gets much greater control, visibility on the transactions that are taking place. But to put things in perspective, I'm actually going to show you a small video. Maybe that's going to be helpful.
Employees often need to make company-related purchases. If they don't have their own corporate card, making these purchases can be challenging to them and the company. There is a simpler way. With Extend, Tom provides access to the company's card via a virtual credit card for a specific amount. Now he can avoid reimbursements, reduce risk, and increase spend visibility. Better still, Tom gets to grow his card usage and enjoy more rewards. Simplify your spend with Extend.
hopefully that gives you a sense of what we do. In a sense, we have created a platform that enables instant issuance of corporate credit card for anyone. And that gives much greater abilities for companies to capture spend on these corporate cards. Just to go back to the benefits of Extend in a nutshell, obviously for the banks, you are talking about greater spend on these cards, and this spend comes at great margins. For the corporate cardholder and the companies, you're talking about much better process efficiency, control visibility, as well as greater benefits from the card because you get the volume that generates points and cash back. And then for the virtual card recipient, these people actually get immediately an access to a payment that has been a payment vehicle that has been funded by the company, which is much better than using their personal cards. Just to finish on a couple of things here, Extend is live. We are fully integrated with Visa and MasterCard, which means that we can onboard banks in weeks. Our first bank partner is Silicon Valley Bank. We're actually in discussion with a number of other banks to actually come to market with them. And obviously, our solution is available online. Thank you very much. I'm happy to discuss if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Guillaume. Next up, we have Nikita from Moxtra. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your applause, Evan. Okay, let's get started. Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Nikita, and I'm very excited to talk to you all about Moxtra. So a little bit of background on us. We are a 5-year-old company headquartered in the Silicon Valley, and we were built by the same team that built WebEx. That's because our co-founder and CEO, Subra Iyer, is the co-founder and CEO of WebEx as well. So Moxtra is his second act. WebEx was to phone calls as Moxtra is to messaging for the mobile era, as Subra likes to say. So what do we do in this space? We're a business collaboration application that combines secure messaging and document collaboration focused on accelerating the completion of very complex, high-value transactions and deals. So what does that mean for the mobile era? Well, the era that we're in, this is a working style we're all used to, and I'm sure you are all very familiar with waking up in the morning and being glued to your phone till the time you go to bed, in both our personal and professional lives. So in this scenario, let's take a look at a lot of the simple transactions we're performing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's calling a car, calling for food, even a video call in the work context. The idea is even in these simple layers of transactions, messaging is a necessary capability. So what about for the high-value transactions, the ones where you're buying a home, you're looking at an investment opportunity, a portfolio statement? These require a lot of time, and as that value and dollar value increases, so does the amount of time required, the legwork required, and the complexity, and the amount of human interaction required. And this is exactly the problem that a lot of these regulated industries are facing. When their customers and their clients are using WhatsApp to communicate about an investment opportunity, that's a compliance nightmare. And that's really where we fit in. We solve for the acceleration of these complex transactions, these high-value transactions, and we provide secure messaging and multi-layered collaboration that sits inside the infrastructure of the financial service provider. So as I said, there's 2 ways we offer this. One is a standalone application that can be white-labeled, but our main play in these regulated industries is by taking our capabilities in a highly lightweight and flexible manner and putting them inside of your application. So think of it as an app within an app. And to give you an example of what we do as I wrap up here, we are actually partnered with over 21 banks worldwide right now. We're less of a startup and more towards a heavy growth phase right now. And Citibank is one of the ones I can publicly talk about today. We're launched with them for a private wealth use case where basically we digitize all the interactions between the RMs and the Citi Gold customers. Currently, it's rolled out to 30,000 customers of the high net worth sector and 500 RMs servicing them. So we give them a platform both within their app and that they can log into to communicate, message back and forth, sign documents, look at investment transactions, and approve investments on the go. On all of these capabilities sit inside that environment, and the RMs get a portal on the back end to communicate both internally and externally. And so really just to wrap up here, we've seen some amazing stats from the RM side. They were having 1 to 2 meetings maximum per day before, and now they're having 4 to 5 at the minimum because they're taking all that legwork and putting it inside the application because it eases communication for those high-value transactions. And on the customer engagement side, in just 6 months, we've seen over $100 million worth of transactions performed on the Citibank app alone, thanks to Moxtra. So thank you all. I'd love to talk to you more about the many things we're doing in this space, and I'll catch you over at our booth if you stop by. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikita. So next up, we have Tommy from Alloy. Let's hear it from him.
Thanks. All right. So my name is Tommy. I'm the CEO of Alloy, alloy.co. And we make onboarding decisioning really, really easy and effective for financial services companies who have this very specific problem, which is that when you sign up customers for like a checking account, a credit card, savings app, anything regulated, you have got compliance on one side, which we've heard a bunch today, wants to keep people out. In fact, they're called the Business Prevention Unit at a lot of financial institutions, which I think is a fantastic name for a department. And then you've got growth and product who actually wants customers. So you've got people who don't want customers and people who do want customers. And product sits in the middle, having to make sure both of those things happen. We don't take on any customers we're not allowed to do business with, but we take on as many customers as we possibly can if they're customers that we want. And so the net result of this is if you do not do identification, KYC, making sure people are who they say they are, you lose a lot of good customers and incur a huge amount of cost. Here are some big numbers. KYC costs are rising 24% per year. 55% of customers are lost during the KYC and identification process during onboarding, and it makes new business models hard to pursue because if you're identifying people one way and there's a different requirement for a different product, then you can't launch that product. And naturally, automation is the way to go here. Let's use more data, more techniques to give people instant decisions, because I actually believe in financial services, user experience is not pretty apps. It's giving customers firm, instant decisions when they want to do something. And that is what we enable. What we do is we bring together any data source or front-end thing like scanning IDs, any technique that a financial institution wants to use to onboard KYC and check fraud on their customers, to do fraud checks on their customers. We bring them into one centralized decision engine and API and system and allow you to integrate those decisions that are actually controlled by your back office into any app or product. You can build dynamic workflows that you can change over time. And we'll give you analytics into how to make them better, how to make them stronger, and how to improve your onboarding stats. We've done this at pretty significant scale. We've automated 98% of the decisioning for our largest customers, reduced their fraudulent applications they've accepted by 50%, and reduced manual review by 95%. We're actually able to increase the number of customers you actually will activate while decreasing fraud. So we're saying we'll help you sort out kind of both sides of that, which is really important. We do it for fintechs and banks like Radius Bank, Aspiration.com, and we'd love to work with anyone here. Alloy.co. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Tommy. Next up, we have Atakan from Big ML. Let's hear it from him.
Thank you. Atakan Chetinsoy, VP Predictive Applications with Big ML. At Big ML, we're all about machine learning and accelerating machine learning. Machine learning itself has infinite potential to disrupt many industries, and finance, banking, insurance, no exceptions to that rule. Yet, when we look at the picture today, in terms of the adoption rates of machine learning across industries, we see a very uneven picture. On the one hand, we have companies like Google already calling itself AI first, and having shown a very interesting Google Assistant demo yesterday. We have the examples of Facebook's FB Learner Flow, a system they refer to as their AI backbone that's used to do 6 million plus predictions per second, having trained 1 million plus machine learning models on it. And they interestingly gave access to 25% of their engineers, not just data scientists, to the system. And on the other hand, we have tens of thousands of other companies in various industries struggling to catch up and hoping for a level playing field. Why is that? Well, because a lot of them are stuck on what you see on the left-hand side of the slide. They hire some PhDs. Luckily, they've been able to win the bidding war sometimes and been able to retain some of those, high-powered folks. And then, they're after some low-hanging fruit opportunities, obviously. But it's still a picture that leaves a lot of us wanting for more. Why is that? What if we could turn this model upside down and instead of having a PhD for every 500 employees, have a machine learning literate knowledge worker, an analyst, a developer, for example, for every work group? Can this be done? What would a platform like this look like? Well, first of all, it would package the best-in-class, most versatile algorithms built from scratch, engineered to perfection, in a very visual manner that puts the intuition behind those algorithms first and the complex math second. Then it would have a RESTful API where all these components are objects that are easily manipulable for building smart applications powered by those models built on the platform. And it would come with a 2-day crash course, well-structured training that assumes zero background in machine learning. All these together making it possible to have the simple yet powerful value proposition of a single platform, infinite applications that are predictive in nature. So guess what? This platform exists today. It's called BigML. 70,000 plus people have signed up for it. Tomorrow's knowledge workers are being trained in machine learning, and 600 plus universities using this platform, and dozens of companies have already secured their private deployment versions. So please come and talk to me for a quick demo at the BigML booth. If you can't today, please sign up for a free version and start your journey today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Atakan. Next up, we have PJ from Checkbook.io.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We'll jump right in. My name is PJ Gupta, and I am the founder of Checkbook.io. And as you see on the screen, we've created blockchain-enabled digital checks solving the problem of paper checks. We create and transmit a digital image of check in email, and the recipient gets it instantly. Checks are prevalent because the alternatives are very few. ACH has an onboarding problem. I need to get the recipient's bank account info before I can do an ACH. Credit cards, 2 to 3%, they don't scale for businesses. So, like I said, this is what the recipient sees. They get an email instantly instead of waiting for 7 to 10 days in USPS mail, and they can either print the check or deposit it online. Deposit online, they connect to their bank account, verify it instantly, and we do the settlement overnight. The market is huge. Contrary to popular opinion, check usage is actually not going down. That is because individuals have gone to bill pay, but the way bill pay often works is some of it goes through ACH, but half of it is still sent out via postal mail by the banks. And that is who we're targeting. I'll just give you one number. The total amount of money transmitted according to the Federal Reserves using paper checks in 2016 was 4.5 times the total amount of money with Visa and MasterCard combined, $26 trillion. Business model, I'll skip this. I'll go over it very quickly. We have a very strong EBITDA and revenue margin. Some of the people in the landscape, these are all traditional paper check printing companies. This is something that we've already done. We did a huge disbursement for Whirlpool. For those who are in fintech, they will recognize the name Fiserv. It has 2,000 banks and credit unions, and we've got a relationship with them to help power the back end for many of their customers. I don't think you'll be able to see the numbers on this, but this is some of our growth curves. I'll just put in one claim. We went past 1 million users on the recipient side last year. And it translates to revenue. Our revenue was 22 times the revenue in 2016 when we formally launched in March 2016. Real-time payments coming up soon. We will be able to cash a check by entering your debit card number, and the money will be in your bank account in 18 seconds. Team. Don't have much time left, but I am the former Chief Network Architect of Visa. I know payments. Current investors, Tim Draper, AngelList founders, Tom Prue, and many others, and hoping for maybe some of you too. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, PJ. So next up, we have Amrita from Signify. Give it up. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Amrita with Signify, and I would like to start with a question. How many of you would like to improve your customer acquisition by 50%? Or reduce your default rates by 60%? If this sounds interesting to you, let me tell you about Signify. In Peru, Signify worked with one of the biggest telecom operators to give credit and behavioral scores to thin and no-file customers that lacked traditional credit histories. With these scores, the telecom operator was able to improve their customer conversion by 70% and add an additional recurring revenue line worth $300,000. In the Philippines, where most people use prepaid mobile phone plans, Signify partnered with a value-added service provider to offer airtime credit to their 40 million customer base. And with these airtime credit loans, we were able to reduce our default rates by 58%. The bottom line is that using the Signify platform, we offer banks access to more customers at a lower cost, which ultimately means more profit. So how do we do it? Well, 5 billion people have a mobile phone. That's 70% of people in the world. And as we know, mobile phones are collecting all sorts of data. Everything from our call records to social media to even our banking transactions. Signify uses mobile channels, both through our partnerships with local telecom providers, as well as directly from customers' phones to analyze that data and connect banks with potential customers. At the simplest level, Signify offers an alternative data credit report. This is something similar to what you would see from a traditional credit bureau. We look at customer behavior across several metrics and offer a composite score on a scale of 300 to 900. These scores feed into our end-to-end managed service and customer acquisition tools, which can be applied to all sorts of credit products. Currently, we offer them with airtime credit, handset financing, and cash loans. Signify has been a first mover in this space, and we have established mobile partnerships. We can consolidate data across providers and platforms, and we have a state-of-the-art data and security protection program. We have a global footprint. We have scored over 120 million individuals. We have partnerships with 18 telecom companies and 21 financial institutions. Here are some of those partners. We also partner on a number of financial inclusion initiatives, both through our investors as well as international foundations and institutions. In fact, Signify was recently named a top 100 fintech that promotes financial inclusion by the IFC and Stanford GSB. Finally, here's our team of rock stars, including our CEO, Jonathan Hakeem, who spent his early career in investment banking and has since led several startups to success. Thank you for your time. I'm Amrita with Signify. Please come see us at a booth out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Amrita. Up next, we have Murdad from Regali. Let's hear it from him.
Thanks very much. Hello, everyone. So have you ever lost your wallet? Or had a run-in with this guy and his friends? Either way, a lost or stolen card causes a lot of problems for banks and their clients. One of the biggest problems are false declines due to outdated card information. Merchants and issuers lose over $110 billion every year due to the costs and lost revenue opportunities related to this. The bad news for the bank is that 32% of their clients stop using the card at that merchant, which results in an over 25% reduction in card usage on that card. Even worse, it results in an incredibly frustrating user experience, even for the heroically calm Dr. Spock. The Regali Exchange API plans to change this by providing complete card control to the banks and their clients. Any bank that integrates with our API is able to update default payment methods for all of their clients' online merchants, and we are network agnostic, meaning that one integration covers your entire card portfolio. The use cases this can be applied to are lost or stolen events, a switching bank event, a new card event, and to a complete card control experience. The Exchange API works by creating a complete card control experience within your bank's mobile or web application. The API authenticates and updates the cards at each one of your clients' online merchants, and as soon as that card has been updated, it is available to be used. We're live today with 52 integrations that cover over 50% of online card usage, and we're projecting over 100 integrations by 2019, which will cover over 80%. So why Regali? One, traction. We're piloting with multiple top 10 issuers today and are projecting a commercial launch in 2018. We have a proven brand. Over 40 banks, lendtechs, and fintechs use us today. We recently raised our Series A, and our executive team are Wharton alums. We're network agnostic, meaning one integration covers your entire card portfolio. We provide total control, meaning the Regali Exchange API can give you and your clients complete control over your card portfolio. Speaking of total control, our API can power that complete card control experience inside of your mobile and web applications that can ultimately improve user experience, NPS, and your bottom line. We are Regali, and we would love to help you revolutionize the way that you help your clients manage their finances. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Kyle from Ohalo. Let's hear it for him. Good luck, man.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. I think it's almost break time, so you guys will get a break in a sec. My name is Kyle DuPont. I'm the CEO of Ohalo. So everybody's been talking for the past 15 years about data being the new oil, right? It's what drives corporate value. It's what drives asset value, right? But what if that oil suddenly turned to sand? What if you just couldn't use that? What would that do to all that value? Well, that's what's coming not in the distant future, but in just a few weeks' time with the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. And it's not the only one. We're seeing regulations changing all over the world, from Japan to Singapore, where people's relationships with their data and the companies that serve them and their governments are fast evolving. And this is getting more and more complicated. Getting data out, getting that oil out of the ground is no longer just about building APIs. You need to have context around that data. And that context is called data governance, but it's very complicated. And it's complicated, one, because you have literally data across thousands of data sources in a large organization. And then you have an incomplete solution. You essentially have an IT team that's sitting there trying to figure out what apps are connecting to where, and then you have the legal team that's supposed to know what regulations are applicable to your business and what parts of the business those regulations might apply to. We should do this a little bit better, I think. What if we could make data actually aware of the regulations that apply to it? Well, that's what Ohalo does. We have two products. The first is the Data X-ray. It connects to existing data sources from cloud services to internal SQL servers in seconds. We use a machine learning algorithm to scan those data sources for various classes of data, like personal data in the case of GDPR, and then flag that up. Once you've found that data, you want to do something about it. You want to protect yourself. You want to protect that risk. And that's where the data protection router comes in. We use a blockchain to track the metadata of how data is moving across all these very complicated systems, not only within a single organization, but also between organizations. We have great growth. We actually just launched the data X-ray in production 3 weeks ago. We have 69% month-on-month growth. This is actually old numbers. It's grown another 10 or 20% since then. We're serving media companies, VCs out there. We're serving VCs as well. We have banks, fashion brands, and more. We have a great team with a background in building data tools for financial services, companies like these. So please do go to our website at ohalo.co. You can sign up in seconds if it's cloud services like Google Drive or Box, or if it's on-prem and you're a bank, come see me after the show. We can get you rolling in a couple weeks. Thanks very much.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Kyle. So next up, we have Andrew from Trust Stamp. Let's hear it for him.
Hello, my name is Andrew Gawasak, and I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Trust Stamp. As many in the financial world know, synthetic identity fraud is an unsolved $50 billion problem, and it's growing. Our answer to this problem is a unique biometric identity hash that can incorporate any existent or even yet to be developed identity token. And the process starts on a device as ubiquitous as a 5-year-old smartphone, in which we're able to verify that the person on the other end of that device is not a high-quality video, a picture of a picture, or even a 3D printed mask. From that point, we're able to tie that face to a legal identity using forensically tested government-issued photo ID, proprietary data sources, or even social media data mining. And then we do something that's unique. We convert that 3D mask of your face into a 512-byte hash. And that hash has a 1 in a billion chance of matching someone who isn't you, but it can't be reverse engineered into your face, and therefore does not constitute PII. And yes, I have a group of over 20 attorney generals who will back that statement. But then that hash can be stored directly on enterprise servers or stored optionally in the blockchain. And what that allows you to do is to recognize your customers as they reappear in your system, or spot instances where the same face is appearing under more than one username or password. To further add to the value of the hash over time, we're able to incorporate other data sources into that unique hash, thus preserving its data and allowing you to be in control of what other authentication data you use in your organization. So let's talk about a real-life use case. This is called step-up authentication, and it's being used by an S&P 500 bank for when their customers have forgotten their username or password, they can't answer those KBAs, or they just don't have control of the phone that they originally registered with and can't get that OTP. Now, what was happening was this particular bank was actually having to close those accounts down if they couldn't authenticate. But now the user is directed to a URL entirely hosted by Trust Stamp. The user just has to take a photo of their face, picture of the front and back of their ID, and enter basic account information. And the great part is this bank has reported that 68% of customers who they would have otherwise lost are now back in and actively using their accounts. But most importantly, we've been able to prove out that concept, that green list concept, where we've been able to spot instances of a single face trying to gain access under different credentials. And we've been able to catch multiple real-life instances of fraud. And so while we believe we have market-leading artificial intelligence, we believe it's this research around tokenized identity, this non-PII updatable identity that's going to differentiate us in the long run. When working with financial institutions, we can deliver our solution as an API, on-prem solution, or in the case of StepUp, entirely hosted by Trust Stamp. We make it easy for your organization. So if you are just starting the foray into the biometrics world or are looking to accelerate it, I'd be happy to speak with any of you afterwards. Thank you for your time and attention, everyone.
Thank you. All right, everyone, that brings us to our first break. Let's rejoin here at 2:45. Thank you.
we'll do one more.
All right, everybody. All right, everyone. We're going to get started here in about 1 minute. So if you guys could get to your seats, we're going to queue up a video in about 1 minute. Thank you. Video to kind of re-engage here after the break, gets you guys, get the juices flowing. So go ahead, take it away.
What we were looking for in an accelerator program wasn't just either funding or a place to sit. It was really to get injected into the ecosystem with corporate partners. And so the ability to talk to all the corporations that are here today at Selection Day is just absolutely incredible. And it's something that will kickstart our company regardless of which direction it takes us in.
Expect a lot of mentorship and resources and abilities to connect with not just a diverse set of companies and investors, but also fintechs that are doing really interesting, innovative things in the sphere.
I think a lot of banks, principally the top banks, have been getting a lot smarter at figuring out the fact that in best practices, they will never ever be able to compete with a startup and innovate at the speed that startups can. So what they're doing now is, instead of competing with startups, they are partnering with startups.
Like, we've been in the game at Critical for 100 years. We know our business, but when it comes to innovation, we think it has great value to partner with maybe more agile partners like fintechs, and we're here to find also inspirations for our digital initiatives.
Great quality, great variety, great volume of companies coming through. So it's a great opportunity for us to really look at what's happening in the market, what's bubbling up here, and so far some really interesting stuff, which I'm hoping to spend a little more time with these companies and get an understanding of what they're doing and what we might be able to do together.
I think the ecosystem is good, so it gives organizations a chance to foster ideas, to learn from others. It gets involvement from the corporate sponsors to help drive the direction of organizations, give them feedback on direction, applicability. I really like the idea of the mentoring, polishing the pitches, and really helping these companies grow.
I think the biggest challenge, obviously, as a startup is time is of the essence, but we are also incredibly flexible as startups. And I think the challenge is when working with corporations, it's important to know exactly what problem we're trying to solve.
We are building a brand new standard for cards on file.
We're building the market insights platform for the wealth management industry.
We're the creator of the leading data over audio solution, the next best practice in mortgage lending.
Transforming mobile behavior into financial opportunity.
Universal adapter that plugs into banking systems.
There's a lot of ways of doing this, and I don't think there's any one right answer. I think it's all about trying different things and learning from each other and seeing how we can support each other to take the entire industry forward.
All right, thank you. So we're going to kick it off right away with Ilya from ID R&D.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming back after the break, by the way. Anyway, my name is Ilya Ozrets, and I'm here today with ID R&D, and we're bringing AI-driven identity authentication revolution to the market. As you very well know, the existing and traditional authentication methods, such as passwords or 1TP PIN codes, are terrible from the user experience and security perspectives. So ID R&D solved those problems in its AI-based approach that combines several biometric modalities, along with its unique liveness detection capabilities. So we kill passwords, we eliminate additional user experience that are horrible. We also close the security gaps through our unique liveness detection, and we also bring biometrics to conversational interface. In order to do so, we developed our proprietary algorithms in voice behavioral biometrics, along with the liveness detection capabilities. At the core of the company, we do have the strongest R&D team in voice biometrics space. We created and patented our proprietary AI-based algorithms to provide the best-in-class performance for identity verification, for voice biometrics authentication. But biometrics is not all. We also looked at the problem with identifying the real person versus recording or a robot. As you could have heard, Google just released their duplex products 2 days ago in the keynote, and what they were showing is how robot talks on the phone, and the person doesn't know if it's actually the robot or the person. So guess what? Our technologies are able to recognize the difference between the real person versus robot. To prove that our algorithms are the best in the market, we participated in the global benchmark competition, such as ASV Spoof 2017, and proved that we're the best. On top of that, we participated in another benchmark competition in keystroke dynamics biometric, and we also are recognized as a leader in this space. Next, I would like to touch base on the conversational user interface. And as you may know or may not know, but the fact is that more than 50% of the US adults already use or interact with the user interface in one way or another, such as virtual assistants, chatbots, through the messengers and other IoT devices. And these numbers are growing tremendously. Here's our solution to satisfy the new challenges, the Safe Chat. You can think about it as an intelligent, biometric-based and secured Alexa within the bank application, where a user can interact it with via voice or typing to perform any transaction. Here's quickly how it works. We basically combine all of these different biometrics that are available on the device, fuse them through our proprietary AI algorithms, and then basically providing the confidence score of how confident we are if the person is real. On top of that, I want to touch base really quickly on the traction that we're having this year. We've been recognized as a top 10 AI startup by Microsoft. Another quick note about our sales. We closed $1 million in the last year, and we plan to double it this year. Thank you very much, and please stop by on our table. We'll answer your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Clayton from FI Span.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to final demo day. My name is Clayton Weir. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of FI Span, and FI Span is a platform that's trying to change the way that banks interact with their commercial banking customers. And so why do you want to do that? Well, our hypothesis is this: because you make money doing so. Business banking is something that hasn't received the same investment in innovation or in disruption that retail banking and wealth has. And so when you look at the research, and this was, I think, PwC's number, there's $400 billion of transactional revenue that's at risk in the coming decade, annually within the coming decade, to fintechs. And so the reason that that is at risk is because both the channels and the capabilities that your customers are expecting are changing. So they need additional services that are beyond the suite of things that you might offer as a bank. And they're also used to the banking experience that they have in retail now. So seamless, mobile-based experiences, things like this. And so they're not willing to put up with the fax machine and file exchange and the types of user channels that are really primary in commercial banking today. So one of the things that FiSpan is building is a platform to extend these banking experiences natively into the core business applications that they use to run their businesses. So their ERPs, accounting systems, and treasury management systems like SAP and QuickBooks and NetSuite. And what we allow you to do is place a bank-branded application within those systems so that your clients can not have to leave their environment, not have to use the swivel chair, as some people call it, to log into multiple different systems, and they can natively pay their vendors, receive their information reporting, submit their financial status to the bank as part of a loan covenant, and do those kinds of things in a really seamless, secure, and auditable way. And so I'll tell you a little bit where we're at. FiSpan is about a 1.5-year-old company. We're 15 people based in Vancouver, Canada. My co-founder, Lisa, is the founder of a company called Hyperwallet, which is a world leader in low-value international disbursements, which sells directly to the enterprise. We have a range of commercial deals with banks live, ranging from kind of money center down to, I'd say, large community banks or sort of starting to be regional type banks in the United States. And so that's our target market. If you are here representing, I guess, the treasury or trade or commercial banking parts of your bank, I'd love to talk to you at the break. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, next up we have Nara from Open Risk.
All right, thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Nara Kadhali. I'm the founder and CEO at Open Risk Technologies. Open Risk is an AI-powered, semantic smart contract-based derivatives, collateral, and liquidity management platform. I know, that's too heavy, right? Well, before we get into details, I want to highlight our leadership team here. We together have about more than 100+ years of experience in both capital markets and technology areas, and we've worked with each other for a long time in various capacities. So this guy sees the problem here, right? I'm sure you guys see the problem too. The point is, this is a very, very large market. And after 2008, 2009 global financial crisis, the governments and the regulators, they all started moving this OTC derivatives market into more closer to ETD market, which is exchange traded market. Look at the scale here. Trying to squeeze in a $540 trillion market by notional into a merely $8 trillion market, you see the problem, right? Well, the market is going through pains of transition from completely fragmented space to a concentrated space with the CCPs and DCOs, everything coming into space. While that is happening, the market participants are going through a lot of their own internal issues. A huge amount of unused, unusable, and very poor quality data. Billions of pages of bespoke derivative contracts. Trillions and quadrillions of transactions that are not properly linked to these agreements, and those are regulatory compliance issues now. And of course, the classic mismatch between how data is stored and how data is used for business decisions. So there's a problem all across the board. Well, we have a unique and a very unified solution, both for the internal efficiencies and market efficiencies. We use semantic web, which is basically linked data and artificial intelligence, NLP and machine learning, to bring in all of the data together into a linked data graph format and bring in internal efficiencies for the market participants. And we use blockchain to bring about the market efficiencies. But now, there are so many blockchain networks, right? Which one's the best? Well, everyone's racing to prove themselves. And I'm going to tell you, there won't be one single winner in this race. And that's fine. Because with semantic blockchain, what we can do is we can seamlessly interoperate between off-chain application and an on-chain application. Not only that, we can seamlessly interoperate across multiple different blockchain networks. So regardless of the affiliation of any specific blockchain network that you have or stage of your blockchain adoption, we can help you. Now, our traction is we've been working with 10 large banks on a CLS-operated Hyperledger network to scope out the pilot projects, and that's going to go live in first quarter of 2019. We're also in project scoping with one of the large tier 1 banks. What we need from you is participation and partnership with us, both on off-chain and on-chain use cases. Of course, we encourage you strongly to participate in our current fundraising round. You don't want to miss a unicorn, right? Thank you so much. For more details, please feel free to reach out, either at the booth or on our website, and you have my details here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Wesley from Quarrule. Let's give it up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wesley Moore, CEO and founder of Quarrule. I've been in compliance and risk management for 34 years. I think I've found every kind of violation under the sun, but then they keep inventing new ones and keep expanding the number of rules that are out there. So I decided to do something about it and help produce real automation for risk and compliance. These are the questions that we concern ourselves with every single day in every risk and compliance program and every single company on the planet. We hope that people know the answers to these questions so they help keep the firm out of trouble. Guess what? It doesn't always go that way. So our premise is that we take in English the rules, standards, practices, and guidance and teach the machine compliance. We then use those rules and definitions to find violations and tell people what to do. We offer an advanced platform that accomplishes these 5 key functions within risk and compliance of companies. They all use a common AI platform, most of which is reusable, some of which is proprietary to our clients. Here is an example of some simple statements that our system can automatically translate into code. We can take much more complex sentences, but I wanted you to see the variety of things. Because we use English to code, the machine can explain its answers, and that's a key change in the way we do things today. Working with English, we figured out that it's really easy for us to work with subject matter experts of all kinds across the entire organization simultaneously. Our machine can integrate the things that they say about their requirements automatically. It also turns out that using English improves the process of creating and maintaining a control program at every step of the way. It's faster to create things, it's easier to modify things, we can extend the program more easily, and it's much, much more accurate than tools that are available and in use today. Here's an example of the input page of one kind of control. And on the right side of that page are the vocabularies that the machine needs in order to apply that rule to company data. We then use those rules and definitions, apply it to company data, primarily to find and explain violations, but generally to answer questions and to justify them. So Quarrule has a complete risk and compliance platform that addresses these needs. What rules apply to different parts of my business? What needs attention and maintenance inside the risk and compliance program? And most importantly, where did we violate the rules and why? So again, I'm Wesley Moore. We'd love to automate your risk and compliance program. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Art from EQBot. Let's hear it up.
Hi, I'm Art from EQBot, co-founder, and our artificial intelligence is powering more than $150 million in assets. So there's been an explosion of data, and it's affecting security prices every day. Bloomberg says an estimated 90% of all data in existence today was created in just the past 2 years. Google CEO said that AI is a more powerful tool than electricity or fire. Our team has deep expertise both in artificial intelligence and asset management. Together, we've built an AI investment platform that has both institutional and retail applications. Our platform mimics an army of research analysts, traders, and portfolio managers working around the clock, 24/7. We have the ability to process millions of structured and unstructured market signals daily. This includes things like broad economic data, financial statements, trading indications, sentiment, company management, and over 1 million news articles and social media postings every day. We have 3 provisional patents, and we're in the process of filing for 4 more. We launched the first AI-powered ETF on the New York Stock Exchange. That fund gathered more than $150 million in just 3 months. It was the winner of the Best New Active ETF, and according to the New York Stock Exchange, it was one of the most successful ETF launches in history. We've also been very fortunate. In the media, we've been covered in over 100 news articles, and we had a humbling experience of being on both CNBC and Bloomberg Television, which helped the flows. Obviously, this is a big market, and it's growing. These numbers are a little out of date, so I'll give you today's numbers. So as of today, S&P's up 1.77%. Our fund is up 6.56%. We did a survey to see what investors care most about. Yes, they care about fees, but by a wide margin, they care more about performance. So we're expanding our AI investment platform beyond ETFs and indices and allowing banks and asset managers to get both retail applications for their retail customers as well as institutional applications for their firm and for their trading desks. We've built API and widget integration for the asset managers as well as the banks, and you'll be able to actually get this rolling not in weeks or months, but actually in a matter of a day or 2. That spike right there is the opportunity within Facebook prior to the Senate hearings. We're a team from UC Berkeley. All of us actually met while we were doing our MBA at Haas. My co-founder, the CEO, Chita Katua, also has a master's from Stanford and the Indian Institute of Science. He's got 18 years in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Recently was director of engineering at Intel. My background's in wealth management. I was at Fidelity Investments for about 10 years, managing about $1 billion in assets. Chris is an institutional portfolio manager, managed $30 billion for Apple, $8 billion for Gilead, and has time with Franklin Templeton as well as Goldman Sachs. We have a team of 11 in India, engineers, as well as a professor from Haas. So we're looking for someone to pilot our AI system, start managing risk intelligently, and if you're interested, you could shoot us an email at art@equibot.com or chi@equibot.com or meet us at the tables. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Art. Next up, we have Alan from Relativity 6.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name's Alan Ringwald, co-founder and CEO of Relativity 6, and today I'm going to talk about an old, potentially boring topic. It's called customer retention. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with it. Of course, it's super important, and today I'm going to tell you about how we've created an ability to detect churn signals much quicker and more precisely than the systems out there today. So the company started about 2.5 years ago when my co-founders and I were doing a thesis at MIT about unresponsive or lapsed customer behavior. So these are customers that at some point were active, thriving, then all of a sudden they disappear, leaving no indication as to why they left or if they'd ever come back. So what we did was use a lot of deep learning, machine learning technology that we developed to basically fill in those gaps, those signals that don't actually exist. So we created that artificially, and what we found was a pretty basic insight. Banks see their customers through transactions. So you can see everything that your customers are doing internally, but what about everything else? What about understanding your customer a little bit more holistically? And that's why churn we found to be so high. So as I mentioned, retention's boring, and banks think so too, which is why most models are off-the-shelf statistical models using only internal data and can only get to about 70% accuracy at best. The way we do it is a little bit different. So as I mentioned, we created a system of algorithms that are constantly competing with each other for accuracy, built on top of a highly scalable infrastructure system, specifically looking for those signals of churn. And we definitely use a lot of external data, which I'll explain in a second, but we find that to be extremely important. And we get to about 80% accuracy just within the first 3 months of working with a company. Very high level, so we do use external data. We're not Cambridge Analytica. I don't want to go to prison. I'm too soft for prison. So it's all trend level data, public record, all on the up and up. But what we do is we fuse that with all your internal data to very basically come out with 3 things. 1, a propensity for your customer to stay retained, product recommendations, and also a propensity of your lapsed customers to come back. We don't have our own dashboard. We realize that people want to work in their own workflows. So this is a Salesforce integration example where we've classified a customer. We give product recommendations and even specific inferences on external data, like this person recently moved to Chicago or had a child, and specific confidence intervals associated with those predictions. Now, it's not magic, so we need feedback from actual sales agents, and the system essentially recalibrates based on that feedback. In terms of what we've seen on accuracy, so we get to between 10 and 30% more accurate than current banking models, which can lead up to about a 1% reduction in churn, which is obviously very, very impactful. Every percent of increase in churn can be a 1 to 2% net income loss, so obviously very important. We recently completed a pilot with Citibank. Essentially, we looked at one of their apps and way overperformed their precision and saw a 300% increase in incremental revenue compared to their control group. I'm going to skip that, but basically we're highly scalable, like I mentioned. Plug and Play has been a great partner investor. MIT was our first investor. We just came out of the Salesforce incubator, and NVIDIA has also been very helpful. We're in their inception program. They're really helpful with the GPUs. I believe that's it. That's my logo waving at you guys. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Next up is Brian from Ascent RegTech.
Thanks. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Clark. I'm the CEO of Ascent Technologies, and as he said, we are a RegTech firm. So in 2008, I stood on the trading floors in Chicago as a regulator, and I watched as $1 trillion in wealth got wiped out of the economy in about 5 minutes, an era that many of us probably consider underregulated. Fast forward 7 years, I was the chief compliance officer and general counsel of a brokerage fund. Watch what happens when you have overregulated industries. Both cases, I saw many of my friends and colleagues shut their doors due to these costs. In 2010, the US government said complying with federal regulations only is $1.9 trillion. Not sovereign, not state, not municipal, not county, just federal regulations. At my job as the chief compliance officer, this is a little bit what it looked like on the day-to-day. So chaos, right? You're understaffed, you're overworked, you're trying to keep up with the dynamic delta of regulatory change. The average broker has 12 regulatory bodies they have to comply with, let alone many of your global financial institutions have hundreds. The risks include personal liability, criminal action in some cases. You're reporting internally and externally to the regulators, and the changing nature of regulations creates gap risks, which is where many of the problems arise. And of course, the staffing costs have increased significantly over the last 10 years. That's why we built Ascent. Ascent helps firms build, manage, and automate their regulatory compliance backbone, saves time and money, and ultimately reduces your regulatory risk. So how does it work? We essentially channelize regulatory bodies into a stream of knowledge, a stream of intelligence that goes into our platform. SEC, CFTC, NFA, CME, ICE, NASDAQ, NICE, you name it. This information feeds into our front-end system and works in concert with your existing regulatory documentation. So your team can access this digital backbone in real time and automate much of the compliance process. We can do cool things on top of it, like automatically generate compliance manuals, workflows, and information. On the back end, we have a domain AI that's been developed in-house that's ingesting millions of data points across hundreds of thousands of documents, and that's increasing daily. It analyzes and transforms this information and builds it into a platform that helps you manage and keep updated your regulatory compliance program. The point is to maximize operational efficiency. So a couple examples. helping eliminate regulatory risk, safeguarding against those massive fines for foot faults, so you can prove that there was no intention. Automatic regulatory change management. The system will implement those changes only that is applicable to you, and it's targeted to the firm. In a recent case study we did with a global banking institution based out of London, we took 1,800 hours of work on MiFID II and turned it into 2.5 minutes. And this can be applied for every regulatory body you have to comply with. And of course, a 49% efficiency increase per compliance officer. Ultimately, that's intended to give you peace of mind. We're here today looking for initial pilot programs and partners as we start to scale up our technology. We recently closed our A round and are looking for financial institutions to continue to grow with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Elisar from Cognitive. Let's hear for him. Good luck, brother.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elisar, and I wanted to thank you all for staying strong for the day. I know it's been a long day. And today I'm going to talk about financial crime compliance. And as you well know, the cost of maintaining thousands of legacy solutions is just too high, and regulatory risk is increasing, fines are skyrocketing, and inefficiencies in the process undermine the ability to provide the fast service to customers that they demand. So what Cognitive did is create a cognitive platform, and in essence, we took the knowledge from the entire industry, put it into a cognitive matrix, and produced an engine that provides thousands and generates thousands of new alerts, sorry about that, that generates thousands of new scenarios for your future and optimizes your operational efficiency by providing meaningful insights in real time. And the results produced by such a system are up on the screen. It's a 60% decrease in alert volumes, 40% decrease in false positives, and 80% decrease in manual workload. But we didn't stop there. FinCEN, a regulator, announced a new program called FinCEN Exchange. And it's calling financial institutions for greater cooperation. So Cognitive created a cross-institutional automation for financial institutions to be able to share mutual arrangements without sharing any of the sensitive data. And what that did for a number of global institutions is 5 times increase in productivity and 10 times increase in effectiveness of AML and fraud prevention programs, and 5 times decrease in overall overhead cost reduction. And this is what it actually looks like. Financial institutions can choose the cross-institutional automation and quickly deploy the rules and upon which they will share certain information. You can detect money laundering or fraud ring attacks in real time and deploy them with one another momentarily to quickly adapt to fast-changing regulation. And here's our traction today. We have a top 3% data science team in Kaggle. It is by far a #1 team in the AML and fraud prevention domain in the world. And our architecture team also created projects deployed across 80% of global financial market in real-time decision management and operational intelligence. Thank you all very much, and enjoy your day.
Thank you. Next up, we have Brandon from Eloquent Labs. Let's hear it for him.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon, head of product here at Eloquent Labs. We develop conversational artificial intelligence systems to help enterprises scale communications with their customers and internally. Before I dive too much into us, I wanted to thank you all for the times that we've had over these past 12 weeks, speaking with you about the ways that you've engaged with your customers and how you're communicating internally. It's been very helpful for us as we iterate on our product and look to make a better offering for you guys in the future. For those of you that haven't met Eloquent Labs, we were founded by 2 of Stanford's top natural language processing researchers. They left extremely promising careers in academia in order to bring truly conversational systems to enterprises today. This is the technology I'm going to demonstrate for you here quickly. This is a simple website that happens to sell socks, but we've been deployed in much more complex retail, logistics, insurance, and soon we have some pilots in fintech starting up this summer. There's three main things that our technology can do. The first, like any good bot, we too can answer frequently asked questions that a user might have. The difference between us and our competition, though, is that you don't have to input all the different ways to ask a particular question into our system. Our AI can understand when you've input one question into the knowledge base, all of the different rephrasals, typos, linguistic variations on that particular question, and automate those responses. The next thing we can do, and perhaps what I'm most excited about, is what we call machine reading. We can actually take unstructured documents, whether they're regulatory policies that you have internally in Word docs or HTML or PDFs that you have, training materials maybe. We can read them with the AI, understand what's in there, and use what we've learned to answer questions that employees or customers might have. The last thing we can do is what we call task-oriented dialogue. Now, task-oriented dialogue is when someone wants to actually check an account balance or transfer money from account to account or apply for a mortgage. We can actually have full conversations, validate their identity in the chat, and perform calls to APIs or REST endpoints in your business to materially make changes for the customer automatically. This isn't some decision tree conversation that you might have seen with other bots. It's a dynamic, organic conversation that has many routes to reach the goal. Now, you might be looking at this and be thinking of other chatbots you've seen and think, okay, Brandon, I get it, you're working with some smart people, but what is it that really sets Eloquent Labs apart? Why can you do this when other people cannot? And the short answer, honestly, is that we cheat. When our AI system is unsure, we reach out to human beings for help. The important part of our technology is we've taught our artificial intelligence to understand what it's most confused about and create a multiple choice question, asking for the exact information it needs to proceed. Our humans are online 24/7 and respond to these multiple choice questions in on average 3 seconds so that while the agent is typing, the bot can update its models and respond. And that's why over 24 companies trust Eloquent Labs with their customer support or internal communication. If you're interested in seeing the bot, grab a drink at the cocktail hour and meet me at my booth. We can put in some question and answer pairs that you might have in your business and test the bot out with your own data right away. Thank you for your time. Thanks, man.
All right, everyone, we have one more startup to present, and then we're going to have some awards. So let's hear it for the team from Varency.
All right, last but hopefully not least. So I'm Joe Lynham, president of Varency US, and we enable payments innovation for both fintechs and banks, right? I think recent history would prove this Andreessen's statement to be pretty correct. That says the battle between every startup and incumbent really comes down to whether the incumbent gets innovation before the startup actually gets distribution, right? And we've all witnessed Amazon, right? Uber to Yellow Cab, but there's no real equivalent in the whole disruptive banking movement, not just yet anyhow, right? And I'd argue that neither side has made real significant progress in many ways. Banks still have legacy challenges, and fintechs and disruptors still struggle with distribution. Right? And the reality for fintechs really is, banks aren't Yellow Cab, right? Banks, it's one thing for my cab ride to be lost, my cabbie to be lost, but another for my hard-earned cash or my deposits to go missing, right? So liquidity, security, these are still top of mind and paramount to consumers, right? So banks have, they've still have a grip on that, but there's new customer expectations, there's new digital native brands also making their way into this space, right? So banks have to innovate, and that's where we come in.
So I'm David Link, founder and CEO of Varency. Now, Varency enables banks as a solution to cost-effectively deliver value-added fintech services to their customers without the banks having to replace or heavily modify their existing payments infrastructure. And so these are the types of services that enable banks to grow their revenue base, increase customer retention, and customer acquisition. And Verency's digital enablement platform works with any bank irrespective of their payment configuration, whether it's an in-house debit switch, credit switch, or even external processors. And so Verency is a white label SaaS that attaches to an issuing bank and operates live, real-time in the payments flow. And with one connection, or one click, Verency enables banks to do things like accessing their own real-time payments data so that they can power AI and machine learning to enable their customers to pay with loyalty points or merchant-funded rewards at any merchant anywhere in the world without any point of sale or terminal integration, enable their customers to round up their transactions to savings or charity destinations, and even enable banks to give their customers different payment options at point of sale, such as installment credit or even cryptocurrency. And as we're a curated fintech marketplace, we enable about 1 in 7 fintechs to deliver their services via banks. So let me give you an example of just one service that Verency enables, making points liquid.
So I thought I'd show you paying with points in the real world. I'm going to select to pay with my Qantas frequent flyer points. I'm going to use those for my next transaction. And we'll walk over here. And right, I'll grab that, thanks. And there you go. I've just made a purchase of $5.50, charged through to my Qantas points program. Thanks, mate.
No worries.
And if I then go into my transaction history, I can see that's come up for a purchase at the hub in Melbourne, $5.50, charged to the Qantas points. That's it. Nice and simple. No interaction from the merchant. Completely seamless for the cardholder. Thanks.
So I'm the last one standing between you drinks, and of course, thanks for Scott. So if you're a bank, fintech, or an investor, we'd love to talk with you. Thanks very much.
All right, I'd like to thank all the startups that presented today. As a reminder, we are voting on the People's Choice's favorite startup, so please take some time to vote now. We're going to take a quick group selfie with all the startups from this batch, so while we do that, please take the time to vote. They're on the back of your badges, and we'll announce a winner shortly. Thank you.
All right, drum roll, please, for the People's Choice winner today.
Can we hear it for Trust Stamp? Where are you guys?
All right. Andrew. There he is.
There he is. Say a word, brother.
Say how you're experienced.
Sure. So thank you so much for voting us People's Choice Award. It's a huge honor. Huge shout out to the Plug and Play guys. I have been flying out here every other week with one of my team members, and I've been excited about it every time, despite it's a 5-hour flight between here and Atlanta. I tell the guys over and over again, I have built
2 years worth of relationships on the East Coast in 3 months over here at the Plug and Play program. So thank you so much to Scott, Evan, Alex. Thank you so much, guys. It's been fantastic.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. So a lot of people made this event possible today, so I'd like to thank our operations and events team. So thank you, Lauren, and the team there. And of course, this is not the end of the road. There's a lot of fantastic opportunities, so we'll be back here next batch starting in July. And one last thank you to all that's been a part of this family here. I really appreciate the opportunity to have made an impact in financial services. So thank you, guys. Let's go have a drink.